finally worked. Hello, Chris Godinez, licensed professional counselor, also the host of We Need to Talk on every Sunday here at noon. This video is for educational and informational purposes only. The views and opinions stated herein are mine and mine alone. They do not represent the ACA, the APA, or any other therapist for that matter. Boom, shakalaka done. I would like to thank my sponsor, BetterHelp, BetterHelp, BetterHelp.com/Chris Godinez. They're an online therapy company. They are international. So if you are anywhere in the world and you're needing to get into a therapist and your particular country is putting you on a waiting list that's like months and months and months and months, possibly a year long, go to BetterHelp.com/Chris Godinez, fill out some questions, and they will get you in with a therapist here in the US of A. If you don't like your therapist that you get, you just go in and say, hey, don't like the therapist, fill out some more questions, and they'll place you with somebody else that is licensed, professional, master's level, or PhD level. So, and if you're here in the US of A, you can do that the same. So there we go. Thank you. BetterHelp.com/Chris Godinez, and they're really affordable, and that makes me very happy. So anyway, all right. So stuff and things. I need to know if you guys are interested in the seminar with me and Susanna. If you are interested, either please say something in the comments over here on the live chat, or if you could drop it down, if you're watching this after the show is live, drop it down in the comments, because we kind of need to get a feel for how many people might possibly be interested. If nobody's interested, we're just not going to do it. So, okay. And on that topic, Saturday, I will be in Sacramento. So I will be doing a meet and greet in Sacramento. If you are interested in coming to do a meet and greet, which means you get me for 2 hours, it's usually a pretty small group, which is fine with me. And I can answer any questions you have. So we can do that, you know, anything on abuse and surviving and things like that. So go to chrisgodinez.com, and in the events clicky thing, click on that and it will take you to the events, and you can sign up for Sacramento, which is next Saturday. And then the next one after that is going to be Boise on July 9th. I'm looking at possibly doing San Diego, so I got to get some things firmed up for that. And then we'll keep announcing dates as things go. So anyway, there is that. So yes, if you are interested in the meet and greets, please go to my page, chrisgodinez.com, and then click on the events and sign up for those. And if you are interested in the seminar, we need to get a feel for how many people. So please do let us know whether you're interested or not. Okay, what else was I supposed to say? Oh, yeah, this is on podcasts. So you can find this on Apple, Google, wherever you find your podcasts. So it is available on podcasts. Also, my books are available on Amazon and Audible. So if you want to go get any of these books, they are available. Susanna Quintana is offering a Narcissism 101 educational package thing, and included is her book, So You're Still That Girl. So she's so awesome. I freaking love her. She's great. And then, of course, Shahida Arabi, any of her books, go get them. So, all right. So I think today we need to dive into the weird thinking that narcissists have, because it's breathtakingly bizarre. So one of the things that I get asked a lot is, how in the world can they say and do these horrible, awful, terrible things, and then literally believe that they never said or did any of these horrible, awful, terrible things? So we're going to be talking a lot about magic thinking. We're going to be talking a lot about ego defense mechanisms. Dun, dun, dun. So ego defense mechanisms. So, all right, let's dive into it. So what is an ego defense mechanism? Now, this is Anna Freud that came up with this stuff. So it is part of the Freudian psychoanalytical thing. And a lot of Freud stuff, I'm just like, dude, you're so wrong. But with a lot of stuff, with this stuff, it's right on. So you're going to notice a lot of it. So let's look at the defense mechanisms. 10 defense mechanisms. This is simple psychology. What are they and how they help us cope? Now, I want to be clear. We all at times will do ego defense mechanisms because it's a way to protect ourselves. It's a way to keep ourselves safe. Is it maladaptive? Well, it's maladaptive if that's your only go-to. So in other words, narcissists are nothing but ego. There is no there, literally. It's all ego. And so all they do all the time, 24/7, is ego defense, ego defense, ego defense, ego defense, ego defense, ego defense. And that is why when they get narcissistic injury, they come unglued because it's really threatening to them. So let's talk about the defenses. Okay, denial. Denial is a defense mechanism. It involves refusing to accept reality, thus blocking external events from awareness. So if something doesn't jibe with the abuser, they simply deny. I never said that. That never happened. I never did that. That was not. You're remembering it wrong. That's one of their great lines that they love to give this. So, and it creates cognitive dissonance in us, because we sit there and we go, wait a minute, I know what happened. I know what you said. I know what you did. And you're telling me, and they will say it, look you dead in the eye and deny it. They'll lie. They're pathological liars. We're going to talk about that as well. And it makes us go, whoa, 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 whoa. But I remember you said that, but, and then we start second guessing ourselves. So it creates cognitive dissonance. Now, when we get cognitive dissonance, we get confused. We go into that fog, fear, obligation, guilt, and we start going, oh, I must be remembering it wrong. No, you are not remembering it wrong. They're lying. They are doing the denial thing. So that when, oh boy, so much. So when they deny and lie, we get confused and we fall into that. It must be me. I must be remembering it wrong. They must be right, blah, blah, blah. And so we stop trusting our guts and we stop trusting what we know, right? And that's what they want. When they get cognitive dissonance, they just get angry and go on a rampage because they've had narcissistic injury. And we'll talk more about that. So that's the difference between healthy people that are targets and abusers. So healthy people start immediately questioning themselves. They're like, oh my God, it must be me. Whereas an abuser is you guns all over the place in anger, like nobody's business. Okay, so denial. Now, okay, again, I want to point out, healthy people do have ego defenses. We do, because everybody's got a small amount of ego, not a small amount of narcissism. I get so angry when people are like, well, everybody's a narcissist. I'm like, only a true narcissist would say that. You know what I'm saying. So we all have a little bit of ego. The goal is to pretty much get the ego out of the way. The ego is the one that causes the problems. The ego is the one that's like me, I, more my genitals. You don't want that. You want to be sincere. You want to be honest. You want to be open. You want to be in the moment. Those people are never in the moment. Those abusers are never in the moment, ever. They're always looking for how they can screw their next person, how they can get ahead, how they can harm, how they can hurt. And yes, it is on purpose. Let's be very clear about that. That's another thing. Oh my Lord. Kim Saeed and Shahida Arabi have been on a roll this week, both of them. And they've been posting stuff about, yes, they know what they're doing. Yes, it is intentional. Yes, they are doing this to you, and I'm just like, you go girls, you go girl. I love them both. They are so cool. If you want somebody's different opinion than mine, go to Kim Saeed, go to Shahida Arabi, go to Susanna Quintana. They're all awesome. They are all like really powerful, awesome women, and I love them. So yeah, they're very cool. All right. So denial. Now for us, denial is deadly because what we end up doing is we deny that we know what we know. So we're handing our power over to the abuser. We're basically going, I obviously am remembering it wrong. You're right. I'm wrong. One up, one down. That's what the abuser wants. So we deny and we start going, oh, well, they're not as bad. Oh, they didn't mean it that way. Oh, well, maybe they're having a bad day. Maybe it is me. Maybe. And so denial is deadly because that's what keeps us stuck with one of these yahoos in a relationship. And I want to be very clear. Females can be narcissist, males can be narcissist, men can be borderline, females can be borderline. It doesn't matter. If they're abusive, period. No matter what their diagnosis. If they're abusing, they're abusive. So it keeps us stuck, and it can be same sex, it can be opposite sex, it can be whatever. It keeps us stuck in these relationships that are abusive because we're in denial about what's going on. They're denying what they've said, and we get kicked into cognitive dissonance, which causes us to second guess our own gut. Don't second guess your gut. If you get nothing else out of anything today, do not second guess your gut. The head will tell stories, the heart will tell stories. The gut is a simple yes or no answer to a yes or no question. Trust your gut. Start practicing. And I think I've talked about this before. Start with something you already know. I hate peanut butter. Do I hate peanut butter, gut? Oh, God, yes. And it's like a visceral, like I'm going to throw up kind of thing. So listen to what your no is. What do you already know that you don't like? Okay, gut, do I like, I don't know, fill in the blank, and then see how your body reacts. And then ask the opposite question about something you already do know that you do like. Okay, do I like Reese's peanut butter cups? Oh, yes. Calm, no story, no nothing. If there's a bunch of story going on, it's the head and the heart. It's not the gut. Start listening to your gut. Okay, so the next defense mechanism, repression. Repression is a defense mechanism employed by the ego to keep disturbing or threatening thoughts from coming to the consciousness. So in other words, okay, so basically abusers want their target dead. They do. And they will go to great lengths to shove those thoughts down, and then they'll do the opposite, which is, we'll get to that defense mechanism in a moment. But when somebody does the opposite of what they were really thinking, that's also a defense mechanism. So let's say somebody is got some sort of medical issue, and they really do want them dead. So then they'll go into hyper overdrive. I need to protect them. I need to do this. I need to do that. And yet they're resentful about it. And so that's kind of how you can tell, oh, there's something not right here, So shoving stuff down. Unfortunately, targets do that too. If there's an uncomfortable thought like, oh my gosh, I think this person might be an abuser, we start trying to find the good stuff. So it's like we shove all the evidence out of the way, all the red flags that are looking like a communist party. And we go, oh, no, but there's this good thing about them. Oh, no, it's, so we start shoving those thoughts down. That's dangerous for us. So yeah. All right. So there is that repression. Okay. Projection. This one you guys should be familiar with. So and this goes along with shoving the thoughts down, when they are having the thoughts, when they are doing the behavior, they cannot accept anything less than they are perfect in their heads. They're cuckoo. So in their heads, they have never done a wrong thing. They are not having an affair. They're not doing anything wrong, blah, blah, blah. So they will turn onto their partner and start accusing the partner of cheating if they're the one cheating. They'll start accusing the partner of lying. They're the one lying. They'll start accusing the partner. So they're projecting. They're taking all of this stuff that they can't acknowledge or accept, and then they shove it onto the partner. The next step in that ego defense is rationalization. So once they've projected onto the partner all of this stuff, and they are the ones having the affair, then they start rationalizing why. Wow, you weren't paying enough attention to me. You were rationalization. That's another defense mechanism. You weren't paying enough attention to me. You were taking care of the kids and you ignored me, blah, blah, blah. Remember, we talked about that in parenting. So good parents understand the kids are going to get attention. The partner's going to get attention, and each partner has to give themselves attention. With an abuser, especially with a narcissist, especially a dark triad, you cannot show attention to anybody else except them. And so they use that as the rationalization for cheating. And so once they get through the projection of it, then they start rationalizing. Is that the next one? Please tell me that's the next one. No, the next one is displacement. So displacement is the redirection of an impulse, usually aggression or anger, onto a powerless substitute target. So my dad would do that. So he was an attorney, and he would go up against these judges, and I'm sure he had days where they just reamed him, and he'd come home and he would take it out on me and the dog. Like literally, the reason I left home is because he kicked my dog, and I was like, that's it, I'm done. I'm just peace out. I'm out of here. I'm going to my sister's. And this is when my mother threw herself on my car. Talk about frickin' drama. Anyway, she lived life like it was a soap opera. She did. Anyway, the point being is he got beat up by somebody that was more powerful than him. And then he came home and took it out on, a teenager and her dog. And that's what abusers do. So it's that whole thing of the boss yells at the abusive husband or wife, the abusive husband or wife comes home and yells at the kid, and then the kid goes out and throws rocks at a bird or something. So, I mean, it's kind of an exaggeration, but it's showing, and of course I never did that because I love animals. So it's showing how, it gets substituted. So somebody more powerful beats up and then beats up and then beats up and then beats up and then beats up. And it's something that abusers do all the time. When they can't harm whoever is really putting them in their place, they'll go find somebody powerless to do it to, which is why you will see abusers treat people that can do nothing for them horribly. The homeless, waiters, workers, people behind the counter. Just the things I've heard come out of people's mouths, I was just like, are you serious right now? Are you kidding me? You're treating a human being like that. What is wrong with you? Well, what's wrong with them is that they're a dark triad, sociopath. They don't understand that people have feelings. They don't care. And people are nothing more than objects to them to be used. So they feel perfectly validated in taking their anger out on somebody else. It makes them feel powerful. So again, that jacks up their ego. So anyway, substitution, that's one of the displacement, that's one of the ego defenses. Regression. If you've ever been around a narcissist long enough or an abuser long enough, you will notice that they are extremely childish. I don't mean childlike. There's a big difference. Childlike is having that childlike wonder where you're like, oh, look at the stars. Oh my God, this is so cool. That kind of thing. That's childlike wonder. That's childlike. Childish is that selfish temper tantrum. I'm going to get my way. And they're acting like 2-year-olds. So they often resort to that, especially if you ever notice, if you're ever in an argument with an abuser, they will regress and they will start calling names. They'll start, it's like you're dealing with a 2-year-old. They have a temper tantrum because they don't like being challenged. So there is that one. Hang on. All right, hold on. Sublimation is similar to displacement, but takes place when we manage to displace our unacceptable emotions into behaviors which are constructive and socially acceptable rather than destructive activities. Sublimation is one of Anna Freud's original mechanisms. So, okay, sublimation is actually what I'm having you guys do when we're writing and burning, okay? And it's partly because we're dealing with that inner child that is terrified and can't really say things directly. Obviously, we can't say things directly to the abuser because they'll turn around and abuse us even more. So we're doing something that's socially acceptable. We're writing and burning it. We're getting all those angry thoughts out of our head onto paper so that we don't harm ourselves and we don't harm somebody else. Not that they can be hurt, but the point being is that it's a socially acceptable way of dealing with anger. The other socially acceptable way of dealing with anger is my punching bag. I have a punching bag, or I did. I had to sell it because it fell apart. But punching bag outside, and if I get angry, I go out and I pound on it. I need to get a new one. But, and it's a healthy way to let go of anger. And boy, there's been a lot of weird stuff going on lately. So yeah, so there is that. So that's substituting something healthy that's not going to harm you, that's not going to harm somebody else. That one's not so bad. Rationalization we talked about. So they rationalize why they're harming somebody. They literally will convince themselves in their head that what they're doing is okay. And they'll come up with a whole bunch of reasons why it's okay. So that's rationalization. You'll see that a lot in addicts. So, if you're ever working with an addict population, and I'm talking to those of you that want to become counselors, they live in rationalization and excuse making, denial, the whole thing. So, well, I had to do this because you made me mad. So alcoholics and drug addicts use that all the time. Well, I went out and used because you made me mad. Really? So it's kind of like, where's the personal responsibility and all of that? Shall we talk about that maybe? So yeah. And again, abusers do not take personal responsibility. You made me. You made me. Wow. Dude, are you really that powerless? Or dudette, are you really that powerless? Really? You made me do this. You made me hit you. You made me hurt you. You made me call you names. You made me, you made me, you made me. And they believe it 100%. So it's that combination denial and, ego protection and the whole thing. And they rationalize having hit somebody, having hurt somebody, they're never wrong. They never take responsibility. They will not change. They will never change. They don't change. There are no recovered narcissists. Let's be very clear. There are no recovered narcissists. They're not. So, okay, hold on. Available on eBay. There we go. All right. Okay. So there is that. Okay. Rationalization. We talked about that. Reaction formation. Reaction formation is believing the opposite. It's a psychological defense mechanism in which a person goes beyond denial and behaves in an opposite way to which he or she thinks or feels. Now, that's what I was talking about when they really want their partner dead and they have some sort of medical issue going on. They go overboard saying that they're helping them and this and that. And, I'm Florence Nightingale, blah, blah, blah. And the reality of it is they're also at the same time doing everything they can to kill the person. A great example of that is when the target of abuse has diabetes and the abuser is shoving chocolates and candy and alcohol and everything else that's going to kill them at them. But yet at the same time, I'm taking all of these nursing courses and I'm doing this and I'm doing that, but yet they're doing the very thing that's going to harm them the most. So that's reaction formation. Okay. Introjection. Introjection, sometimes called identification, involves taking into your own personality characteristic of someone else because doing so solves some emotional difficulty. It's very important to the Freudian theory as the mechanism by which we develop our super egos. So if you will notice, abusers absolutely take on other people's personality. So what they do is they love to get together with empathic, healthy, wonderful, normal people because they lack empathy, health, normality, being human. There we go. So what they think is that good news, bad news. The way they target their targets is that we have something they want. We have something they want. And they think that by being with us, they're going to be able to absorb it and become us and have empathy and have kindness and have human emotions and have all of these fun things. What happens is once they get with their empathic target, they soon realize, I still don't feel anything. I still don't feel anything. I still don't feel anything. And instead of taking a look in the frickin' mirror and going, gee, maybe I'm the problem, what they do is they go, how dare you not fix me? How dare you not cure me? How dare you not let me feel? I want your empathy. I want it. Well, if I can't have it, you can't have it. So they are abusive, and they will then, this is when the love bombing is done, this is when they set their sights on destroying their target. Absolutely destroying their target because they're angry that they cannot have what that target has. A sense of humor, like a real sense of humor, not snark. A joy, this joie de vivre, loving life, childlike wonder, really enjoying things, managing to find the silver lining in darn near anything. They get angry when they realize that they cannot absorb that and become that. And they try to take on, I've seen them dress like their target of abuse. I've seen them adopt their talking. I've seen them, they're trying things on because they don't have a true sense of self. They're all ego. Healthy, normal people are not just all ego. There's other things going on. Oh, my contacts just flipped out. Wow, hello. So there's other things going on. And the healthy, normal people are rich and complex and have a lot of emotions and love and happiness and joy and sadness and anger and all of the other emotions in between. Narcissists have pretty much got anger down pat. That's about it. They don't really feel. They don't know how to love. They don't. They say they love you. They say pretty words, but they're not feeling it, guys. And I think that's where we get screwed up, is because we assume that they're like us and that they feel, and they don't. So, okay, let's get back to that. How are we doing on time? Oh, doing good. Okay, introjection. So taking on the characteristics of someone else, trying to find out, if this works, I'm gonna take over this person's personality. All right, identification with the aggressor. All right, this is important for everyone going through a divorce custody hearing. Identification with the aggressor. This is what the kids are doing. I keep trying to explain this to people. So identification with the aggressor is a defense mechanism. It involves the victim adopting the behavior of a person who is more powerful and hostile towards them. So, all right, this is important to talk about. Abusers rule by fear. Abusers rule by intimidation. That's their whole game. They don't really have much else in the playbook. But when they're terrorizing their own child, they use fear, obligation, guilt, and kids cognitively cannot cope with that. So they start identifying with the abuser. So this is Stockholm Syndrome, basically. So when Stockholm Syndrome was first discovered, it was back in the 70s. It was a bank heist. It was in Stockholm, Sweden. Robbers came in, took over the bank, held the hostages for 1 week. 1 week. And by the time they were done, some of the hostages, not all of them, but some of the hostages totally identified with the aggressors, remained friends with them to this day, testified on their behalf, the whole thing. Took 1 week. Imagine what happens to a little kid who's little, not cognitively developed, and they're being withheld by the abuser and not being allowed to see the healthy parent for months. And then parents come to me and they're angry and they're scared and they're confused and they don't understand how could they have possibly aligned with the abuser because of this. They have aligned with the abuser because of identification with the aggressor. By internalizing the behavior of the aggressor, the victim or the target hopes to avoid abuse. That is a very little baby way of thinking. That is a very young way of thinking. That is what children do to try to stop from being abused. As the aggressor may begin to feel an emotional connection with the victim, which leads to feelings of empathy. I don't know if there's actual empathy, but what the aggressor will do is they will go, you're on my side. There's no empathy there. It's like, oh, you're agreeing with me. Okay, well then I'm going to treat you okay. I'm going to treat you, somewhat normally. I'm going to treat you, whatever. So that's what's going on, guys. That's what's going on. And the aggressor, the abuser's weird thinking influences that child. Yes, they are doing parental alienation. Yes, they are telling the child everything horrible about you. Yes, they are informing them of everything that's going on in the custody battle, the divorce, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that poor kid, instead of siding with the healthy parent, is going to side with the aggressor if there is no therapy involved, which is why you must, and I'm going to keep saying that until everybody in the back hears it, you must get a therapist to work with the children. You must, especially if there's been alienation. You have to repair that relationship and help them understand what's happening, cognitively appropriate. And that's hard to do. And that's hard to find a good therapist that understands, okay, this is what's been going on. This is what's been happening. This is what is needing to be fixed. So that is what's happening. It's an ego defense. And it's a very young little baby child ego defense to try to stay safe from a bigger, more powerful, more aggressive, nasty abuser. That is why they side with the abuser. It's not because they think they're great or anything else. They're trying to stay safe. So really, identification with the aggressor is a version of introjection that focuses on the adoption of not of general or positive traits, but of negative or feared traits. So that's why they start acting like the abuser. That's why they start being snarky. That's why they start saying these horrible things to the parent that does love them. If you're afraid of someone, you can partially conquer that fear by becoming more like them. That's what the kids are doing. An extreme example of this is Stockholm Syndrome. Hostages established an emotional bond with their captors and took on some of their behaviors. Patty Hearst was another one. She was taking on the behaviors of the people that kidnapped her. So Anyway, I think this is really important to put in your arsenal to understand why it is so important to demand therapy for your kids. And if there is parental alienation going on, you snip that in the bud as quickly as possible. You make sure that they don't take your kid for months at a time. There's been cases where that I'm dealing with where the parent just took the kid and wouldn't hand him over, came up with all these excuses. Meanwhile, the legal battles and maneuverings were going on. And by the time the healthy parent got the child back, the child was completely brainwashed, completely believing that this parent, the healthy parent, was the bad one and was totally identifying with that one. And frankly, court systems need to understand this. But again, a lot of the judges are narcissists themselves, and they tend to side with the abuser. Male or female, doesn't matter. The judge can be male or female, the abuser can be male or female, and that judge, if they're narcissistic, will side with the other narcissist. Guarantee it, take it to the bank, earn interest on it. So anyway, there is that. Couple of more articles I wanted to get through. Magic thinking. Okay, so let's talk about really quickly magic thinking. So magic thinking is what kids do. Magic thinking is where you pull the blanket up and you say, if I can't see the monster can't see me. When in reality, obviously, if there was a monster, they could see you. So that's kind of what kids do. And kids, the stranger the situation is, the more kids try to come up with a reason why things are happening. So if they don't have enough information to fill in the blanks, they will inevitably make it about themselves. They'll make it that somehow it's their fault that the divorce is happening, or it's their fault that you guys are arguing, or whatever. This is, again, why really important, get a good trauma therapist that can help that child through that magic thinking and understanding, no, it's not their fault. No, it's nothing they said or did. No, it's, whatever. So there is that. Okay. Subtle characteristics, and this is on Psych Central. Subtle characteristics of a pathological liar. And then I want to get to the questions. So the other weird thinking that they have is they're pathological liars. They absolutely, some of them are so far down the line that they are absolutely dark triads. They're psychopathic, sociopathic, narcissist, and control freak, Machiavellian. And they lie as a sport. It gets their rocks off, basically. They enjoy lying. They want to see if they can get away with it. And sometimes they will lie about things that they really don't need to lie about. It's just a habit. And it's impulsive. And that is the one thing that all of these personality disorders all have in common, is the impulsivity. So pathological lying, usually they have a personality disorder, either antisocial, borderline, or narcissistic. They have conduct disorder, oppositional defiance disorder, or ADHD in some cases, not always, but usually combined with a personality disorder. They have personality traits of narcissism, selfishness, abusive attitude, obsessive, controlling, compulsive, impulsivity, aggressiveness, jealous, manipulative, deceptive, socially awkward, low self-esteem, temperamental, and anger. This pathological liars will always study you. They were always looking for what's their end. They lack empathy. Normal people feel guilty and are relieved when you change the subject, or normal people feel guilty and are relieved when you change the topic or stop asking questions. They don't. They revel in their lies, and they just keep building bigger and bigger and bigger ones, and they don't care if they get caught. All liars do not do the common things you think liars do. Some of them could look you straight in the eye and lie. A lot of them can look you straight in the eye and lie. The more psychopathic they are, the more they can do that. The most sneaky liars are manipulative. Pathological liars exhibit strange behaviors. They don't feel remorse. They can be cool as a cucumber. It's just creepy. So anyway, that is some of the things you need to be aware of, some of the weird thinking that narcissists, abusers, etc. have. So, okay, let's dive into the questions. Okay. I'm going to need my glasses, I think, unless I can make this bigger. Can I make this bigger? Please make this bigger. Oh, there we go. Do narcs make up stuff in their head and then believe it? Absolutely. My narcissist would tell stories of things she said happened, but none of it was true. Yes. So remember, part of the criteria of being a narcissistically disordered is that you claim to have all of these things that have happened to you. You claim to have academic achievements that you never went to that college. You claim to have military service. That's one of the ones that they, for some reason, really focus on. You know, military service. Oh, I had military service, and it turns out they never had military service. Yes, they will make up outrageous stories and claim that they have done these amazing things or done these adventurous things or whatever, and they haven't. And it's because it's part of their story, and they believe it. Now, do they know that they're lying? Yes. On some level, I think they do. But they don't care. And I think that's what really trips everybody up, is that we all assume that everyone is going to have a conscience and everyone is going to be like, oh, that's stupid. Why did I lie about that? You know, but they don't. They don't have a conscience. They don't care. They get off on the bigger the lie, the more their ego loves it, the more people that believe it, the more their ego loves it. Again, it feeds the bear. It feeds the bear. And yeah, they convince themselves that it's true. It's like, I remember watching an interview one time with an actress. This was years ago. And she said something, and it was so blatantly, obviously not true. And there was a little bit of a tell on her face, you know. It was like she made this look, and you knew that she knew that what she had just said was BS, but she couldn't own up to it. And it was interesting. This is why forensic psychology just fascinates me infinitely, because yeah, they do have tells. Some of them have tells. The more psychopathic they are, they don't, but well, they do, but harder to catch. So yeah, you know, it's like they know it, but they can't own it. They can't take responsibility for it. They can't, you know, whatever. So yeah, they do that. Absolutely. Do narcissists have a higher risk of dementia? Ooh, that's a good question. My late narcissist mom behaved like a loon in her old age and more bizarre than when she was younger. Well, okay, if she was having early onset Alzheimer, that's going to cause really bizarre behavior. So remember, dementia, Alzheimer's, and narcissism, totally separate. The dementia causes personality changes. That's for damn sure. And it's really awful to watch somebody with dementia, even an abuser, because it's like, do they deserve it? Well, karmatically, maybe. But when somebody's got dementia, the person is disappearing day by day. And usually what ends up happening, a lot of times with Alzheimer's especially, is the further along the dementia progresses, the angrier they get. And sometimes they become violent. And it's so sad, especially when you have somebody that's never been violent, never been nasty, and the dementia is just destroying their brain, and they become violent and nasty and things like that. And that's just not who they are. So are they more likely to get it? I don't know. I have not read any studies on that. I cannot tell you what the statistics are. Do a lot of narcissists end up in old age homes? Yeah, they do, because nobody's willing to put up with their, you know what I'm saying? Okay, hold on. So I don't know the statistics on that. I do know that dementia in and of itself does create personality changes, and it may or may not have anything to do with any personality disorders the person has. Like I said, perfectly kind people with Alzheimer's, as the disease progresses, get violent and angry and abusive and, you know, everything else. And it's just not them. It's because their brain is being destroyed. So I don't know. So I would suggest, if you are interested in finding that answer, maybe look online. I would say something like, is there a correlation? Correlation does not necessarily mean causation, but is there a link between Alzheimer's and personality disorders? Look it up. You know, that would be the best way to find that answer, because I don't have it right now. I'll look it up and I'll try to answer it later in the week, but I don't know. Okay, where are we? Okay. Do narcs fake do narcs fake spiritualism? Absolutely. My narc pretended to be very spiritual, but it was for show and to get attention. Yet she was also very superstitious. Okay, that's interesting because that's part of magic thinking. Okay, so narcissists, there's 4 types of narcissism, right? So there is, well, there's more actually. There's 4 types? Yeah. Okay. So there's the overt narcissists, which are the look at me, look at me, look at me. I'm perfect. Everybody around me has to be perfect. I'm this, I'm that, I'm great, blah, blah. Covert, ooh, excuse me. Covert, which is the victim. Victim. Why is this always happening to me? Martyr. You never write, you never call, that kind of thing. That's covert. They're sneaky. They're not very nice. Somatic is physical, so they're very much into their physical appearance. Everything has to be perfect. Hair has to be perfect. Body has to be perfect. Everything has to be perfect. And then there's the cult leaders. Those are the communal narcissists. So the communal narcissists love to pretend that they're spiritual. It's just, so they're the gurus. So you want to watch out for anybody that's a guru, anybody that claims to have all the answers, because nobody's got all the answers. If we had all the answers, would we be here? Well, maybe. I do like the surfing here on this planet. It's pretty cool. But the point being is that, they want to gather groupies to them, for lack of a better word, and they present themselves as this guru, all-knowing, all-seeing, I have the answers, give me all your money, that kind of thing, that like a cult leader. And yes, they do pretend to be spiritual. They absolutely do. But if you watch their behavior, it's anything but. So truly spiritual people don't need to shout to the world that they're spiritual, because you just know it, because they conduct themselves in a manner that is spiritual. So narcissists don't. So yeah, they will claim to be spiritual. They do it to get attention. Superstition is a part of magic thinking. So it's kind of like knocking on wood, knocking on wood, hopefully everything goes well, that kind of thing. That's a superstition. It's a magic thinking kind of thing. It's a way for very anxious people to try to gain some modicum of control over the situation, but taken to an extreme, superstition is also a way to inflict fear on people. So if you think of the cult leaders, they will say things like, well, if you don't do exactly what I want, this horrible event is going to happen to you. And that's a way of instilling fear. It's a superstition kind of, in a way, because they're blaming it on a higher power when in fact it's them. So yeah, that is a very common thing. That's a communal narcissist, basically, is somebody who claims to be spiritual, and yet their everyday to-day life is anything but, because they're treating people poorly and they're using people and they're abusive, and that's not spiritual. They can say they're spiritual. My dad did that. Again, personal experience. My dad was really crazy, I think is the best way to put it. But he went to church literally 6 days a week and was constantly giving money to the churches and constantly wanting to lead the Bible studies and things like that. And he was telling everybody how, they needed to follow him. And I'm just like, oh my God, no. We need to get away from you, dude. So yeah, they gravitate very much to either organized religion, alternative religion, things, mysticism, metaphysical, things, and then yet they claim to know everything, and nobody knows everything. And it's just scary how they convince people, and people want to believe that they do know everything, and they don't, especially when they start asking you to give them all your money and all your worldly possessions. It's like, oh, really? Well, what do you need with them? So yeah, so there is that. Yes, that is a very common thing for them to do. And it is attention, and it is, it's a way to control and manipulate. Hi, Chris. What is the recipe for a healthy relationship between two empaths who have been hurt in past relationships with narcissists and have Some wounds still burning. Okay, get with a good trauma therapist. I kid you not. So if there's still stuff from your past, get with a good trauma therapist, both of you. Individual therapy. And if there's stuff that's coming up because of the relationship, couples therapy with 3 different counselors. So they're going to have their own counselor for the individual. You're going to have your own counselor for the individual, and y'all are going to get one for the couples counseling together. Things to work on would be self-esteem. Self-Esteem Workbook by Glenn Schiraldi. You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero. Boundaries, The Disease to Please, Harriet Breaker. Anything by PM Melody. Codependent No More, Beyond Codependent No More by Melanie Beattie. So a book for relationship communication issues would be Fighting for Your Marriage by Markman and others. Markman's the only one I can remember. So, and also the Inner Child Workbook, either by Catherine Taylor. If that one's too outdated, get the one by Lucia Cappuccioni. So yeah, you're going to want to start working through these wounds. And if stuff is coming up in relationship, you definitely want to get a couples counselor, but you want to start individual first so that you can kind of get rocking and rolling on the stuff that's coming up. And then when you get with the couples counselor, you're going to be able to articulate, hey, we realized because of my past, because of their past, we're poking each other's wounds and it's kind of coming up. Can you help us? So that will help your therapist, your couples therapist, immensely. All right. So let's see. So basically open, honest communication. Be very aware of when things do get triggered. You want to let your partner know, wow, that really triggered me. And here's why. This is what happened when I got triggered as a kid, or when I got harmed as a kid. And wow, that's really weird that popped up. Let's work on it. Let me work on it. Let's make sure we're not triggering each other. So, here's a really good indication. And this has come up recently with several of my clients, is that they're with a partner. They've let the partner know that a certain behavior is triggering, and yet the partner would continue to do it. Red flag on the play. So once somebody has told you, hey, this triggers me, don't keep doing it. Be aware, be mindful. Now, that also does not mean that the other partner gets to control by saying everything is a trigger. I've seen that happen as well. So you've got to be mindful. And, if somebody's doing that, that's also a red flag. So you've got to be mindful, and you've got to be working on your own stuff and then work on this stuff together as a couple. So communication is going to be key. Respect is going to be absolutely mandatory. And talking things through. Remember, communication is used for clarification. It's when you have to talk to somebody about something, don't think of it as a confrontation. Think of it as clarification. So there is that. Okay, whoops, clicked on the wrong thing. There we go. About identification. What if the narc-influenced daughter is more than 20 years old, not a kid? Should the normal parent go to a counselor together, or what would you advise? Well, if the adult child is willing to go to a counselor with you, and it is a counselor that is absolutely well-versed in this situation, the identifying with the aggressor and, damning the other parent, the whole thing. And if the adult child is understanding that this is with the intention of reunifying you two as a healthy parent-daughter situation, then yeah, go to a good family therapist that is well-versed in parental alienation. Absolutely. They have to understand what you're dealing with. Now, realize the adult child may or may not be open to it. So, because remember, now you are dealing with their ego and all of the bad behavior that abusive parent modeled for them. And again, when bringing up all of this stuff to work on the relationship with the adult child, there's going to be a lot of inner turmoil for that child, because all of the things that parent said are true. You're either showing them or telling them, and it's not. It's going to create cognitive dissonance, which is why you need a damn good therapist to help that kid work through that and stick with the therapy so that the relationship can be repaired. So there's a lot going on. So yeah, you make sure you're with a good therapist, and make sure that the other parent is not involved. You tell that kid, it's like, this is between you and me. This is for us to repair our relationship. So please don't, please let's keep what's going on in the therapy room in the therapy room. So, and see how it goes, Does it work? Sometimes. Absolutely. Sometimes as kids get older, they recognize, ooh, this doesn't feel right. This isn't right. I've missed out on all these years with my other parent. And then they want to get to know them better. And then sometimes they've got the big ego because that's what they were raised with and that's what they were conditioned with. And it's really hard for them to accept incoming information that does not gel with what the abuser has been telling them. So does it always work? No, but it can. So in my opinion, why not? Give it a shot. Do what you can. Okay, let's see. What do narcissists fear the most? Oh my God. Being found out, being called out for being the incompetent POSs that they are. They fear losing power and control. Absolutely. Somebody that they cannot control, they are incredibly threatened by. Incredibly. And they want to destroy them because that is threatening to them because they can't understand somebody who's not afraid of them. They don't get it. So they're nasty, they're snarky, they're abusive, they're, whatever. They fear losing power and control. They absolutely do. They fear being alone. If they're alone, they have nobody to abuse. They're in an echo chamber of their own head. And if you can imagine how nasty they were to you, imagine what's going on in their head 24/7 with nobody to take it out on. That to me is karma. That's why when they end up in the care facilities, I really don't have much sympathy for them because they're getting exactly what they deserve. So nobody to boss around, nobody to be mean to. They might try it with the staff. Staff will throw them out, which is good for the staff. So yeah, yeah. So there is that. They're afraid of being found out. They're afraid of not having anybody to boss around. Okay. Is there any punishment on the face of this earth that would feel like a punishment to a psychopathic criminal, given that they feel no remorse or emotions? I would have to say no. Seriously, I would have to say no. There's been times when they've tried isolation. They've tried, Alcatraz was supposed to be taking everything away from them so that they would do penance. So that's what penitentiaries are based on, doing penance. That's what it's a penitentiary. You're supposed to go there and do penance. And they would take everything away from you. You couldn't talk, you couldn't sing, you couldn't do this, you couldn't do that. There was no, and it was never enough. Some of them reoffended as soon as they got out. Some of them killed people in prison. Some of them, I don't think there is, because you're right. They don't feel, they don't care. It's like what they'll do is this weird, you take something away from them and they'll just smirk and go, I didn't want it anyway. Okay. So no, I don't think there is. I really, honestly, their comeuppance is going to come in the next lifetime. And that's just my personal belief, because they're not going to get it while they're here on this planet. They're not. Because in order to get it, you have to have an actual conscience. You have to have a sense of remorse or guilt, or not guilt like they give us guilt, but like, ooh, that was the wrong thing to do. I need to make amends. I need to fix it. That kind of thing. And they don't have that. They don't care. They really, truly, the really psychopathic ones are truly frightening, because they don't care. Okay. Like that creep in Texas that, broke out, killed the guard, I think, or harmed the guard, but then robbed a family and killed all 5 family members just to get a truck. Why not just take the truck? Yeah. So no remorse, no concern, no care. They'll reoffend. Yeah. So, and I honestly think that they'll not figure it out this lifetime. Unfortunately, I wish they would. I wish there was an enlightenment stick big enough to whap them over the head so they go, oh, I shouldn't do that, But for some of them, I think redemption is not going to be found here. I think it's going to take a higher power, and that's just my opinion. So, but psychologically speaking, yeah, there are some of them that absolutely, there's no punishment that would ever make a dent in them not reoffending. So yeah, there it is. All right, let's see if we have any more questions. Okay. What to do if the narc in-laws are leaving notes and other things in the mailbox after going no contact with your kids, also sending love bombing texts to the husband who is going through depression from the abuse? Wow. Okay. Well, really quickly, because this is, I think, going to be our last question. So what you're going to do is you're going to take those notes and burn them. You're going to get with a good trauma therapist for both you and your husband. I think couples therapy is probably in order with somebody who understands narcissistic in-laws. Abso-freaking-lutely. Get CPTSD from Surviving to Thriving by Pete Walker. Absolutely. Start working it. He needs to start working it, or she needs to start working it, whoever the spouse is. And you're going to talking about going no contact. Absolutely. Excuse me. They are going to try to contact the kids. They're going to try to text them. They're going to try to send, messages, etc. You're going to have to draw a really strong boundary and just be like, okay, guys, there's a reason we're no contact, and here it is. Depends on how old they are. The older the kids, they'll understand it. The younger the kids, you'll have to walk a real fine line with that. But you want to be careful of contact with an abuser, because they'll try to turn the kids against you. So get with a good trauma therapist. And couples and individual for both. So again, individual, couples, possibly family if it's not for the abusers, but for the kids in you. So there that is. All right, my loves. So next week, I am not going to be doing a show. I'm taking the week off, because I'm going to be going up to Northern California to do the meet and greet on Saturday. If you want tickets, they're available on chrisgodinez.com. The week after, I will be doing Becoming an Individual. So getting out of codependency. We're going to talk about how to rediscover who you are and how to rediscover giving yourself permission to have fun. So we're going to talk about all of that. All right, kids, if you are interested in doing the seminar with me and Susanna, please let me know either in the comments on the live chat or in the comments below if you're watching this afterwards. Please like, subscribe, share, all of these things, because the more people that understand about the weird thinking of these people, the ego defense mechanisms, the better, because you'll recognize it and you'll go, ooh, red flag on the play. All right, kids, have a great week. Drink plenty of water. It's supposed to be 114 again today here in Phoenix. Yay. And that's it. All right. I will talk to you later. Bye.